The Clemson basketball team has just won a huge game against Notre Dame, which makes it a big deal for the ACC tournament. And the softball team also won a huge game against a ranked opponent this week. We'll talk about it right here on Locked on Clemson.
You are Locked on Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, host and producer of Locked on Clemson, Clemson grad, Clemson fan, longtime fan, and host and producer of this show, host and producer over on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. This is Locked on Clemson, your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also the notification bell if you're over on YouTube, so you can stay up to date on all of my exclusive Clemson content I put out every single weekday. So I appreciate you being a part of the show and watching and subscribing. And then also, if you want to follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show, you see it down there. That's where I'm up to my normal antics every single week and talk all things Clemson. And so you can go over there and message me and we'll chat. I love talking about Clemson sports, or really anything. You know, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, a master of none, as they like to say. But today we're going to talk about Clemson basketball. They dominated Notre Dame, and what does this mean for them in the ACC tournament? The Clemson softball team stunned the number 11/number 10, depending on where you really look. They stunned the Georgia Bulldogs, a ranked team, a big-time ranked team. How does this impact the rest of the season? What does this mean to them? I know it's still very early, but I wanted to talk about that too. And then finally, Clemson baseball has a huge rivalry matchup this weekend that we have to kind of touch on. I want to get into more of it on Friday, but I wanted to talk about it today as well. And I appreciate everyone being a part of the show. And I know, again, it's kind of weird. You don't see my normal background. I'm on location here, traveling to Lawrenceville, Georgia, rather, and I'm doing some flight training here. So trying to get the podcast going and keep it up for you while I'm away from home. So no normal Jersey background with all my Clemson memorabilia, but hopefully you can bear with me as I'm Thursday and Friday. I will be on, out of the hotel. So it's new for me, hopefully new for you, hopefully not too bad. But let's get started. Segment number one. Really, I wanted to kind of jump into Clemson versus Notre Dame and how good that performance was. Clemson took care of business Wednesday night, absolutely rolling over Notre Dame, 83-68. Littlejohn Coliseum. It was a statement win for the Tigers, not really because they beat Notre Dame, because, you know, you kind of thought, okay, they have a good chance of beating Notre Dame, right? But it was a statement win because they locked up a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament, getting them a double bye into this tournament, meaning the Clemson won't have to play until March 13th in Charlotte. So it is a pretty big impact on the team now that they don't have to worry about, I remember I said no slip-ups at the beginning, at the end of this season. You only had 4 games left. This was a game that could have been one of those games they're looking forward to something else, and you could slip up easily. And so thankfully the Tigers didn't. Now I'll tell you, as I'm saying that, they could have, and they tried to, at least at first, seemed like they tried to slip up. It seemed like, they could not get things rolling. I think they missed like 12 shots in a row, and they were losing. So while I was driving here to Lawrenceville, they were losing the game, and then they started to come back slowly, and then they went on like a 10-2 run, and then a 20-9 run. So it was kind of like the middle part of the game. So if you tuned in early and you had to leave, you were thinking, oh no, this could be an upset for our Tigers. But then as it got closer to halftime, they started to really figure out what to do, and the defense really locked them down. Now, the main star of the night was Ian Schieffelin. He had an absolute career night, and really he was getting close to a historical record himself, individual record. And so you kind of think he maybe wanted to show out on this night. But when you think about it, what have I talked about in the past couple of podcasts? I've talked about when I first started early February, I talked about Chase Hunter a ton and how great he was doing at point guard. And then it kind of shifted to Viktor Lakhin, middle of February, early February, talking about how good the center was and how he was helping facilitate a lot of the team's offense now. And so that was really good. And then it kind of shift to Jaden Zachary a little bit. And then it shift to Dylan Hunter having a monster game. So four different starters we have mentioned throughout this month that I've started with Locked On Clemson. And I really haven't mentioned Ian Schieffelin other than the fact that, he's been continuing to do what we know he can do in the rebounding and in defense. But last night was a different story for him. 24 points, 9 of 11 shooting, 2 for 3 from 3. I mean, Ian Schieffelin shooting threes now. Ian Schieffelin showing up on the scorebook, for points scored. It's not something that we really talked about really all month. He's not been bad. Don't get me wrong. He's been holding it down in the areas that you need him to hold it down, but he hasn't really been a key shooter for your team until against Notre Dame, where he just had a breakout game. And this kind of goes back to what I've been telling you. This team is so well-rounded that you got to be excited for their chances in a tournament-type atmosphere. You got to be excited for their matchups, because how do you match up against a team who has a very confident point guard and who knows what he's doing and who's been around the block? How do you match up against a number 4 that can grab every rebound possible? How do you match up against a really tall center who is much more comfortable back to the basket now late to the season, but also can shoot threes himself? How do you match up against a 2 guard that drives the lane and grabs and gets a bunch of fouls, or when they switch it up with Dylan Hunter, can also get streaky and shoot 20? What person on this team can't hit 20 points in a night? I mean, if they really catch fire and the game's going for them. So that's what I'm saying is you can't really scheme or play defense for just one guy. You can't play a box and one and only shut one guy down. I really don't think that's the way it's going to happen. Not only did Ian Schieffelin have 24 points, but he also had 9 rebounds. So 1 board shy of a double-double. Man, you got to hate that you're 1 rebound away from that. But the big thing of the night really was that he scored his 1,000th career point. And he did it with a just like really sweet looking hook shot. And, I've said it all year. All they need is just one guy to take over the game. Doesn't even really matter who it is. It could be any one of those 5 guys we mentioned to take over the game, and they're going to be successful. So that to me is what makes it so exciting to watch this team. And I know it was Notre Dame. They're not a good team in the ACC. They're not a team that should be pushing you to the limit. So Clemson did what they needed to do to handle business. And that's what a lot of teams struggle to do, especially late in the season. They always have these trip-up games. Now, Clemson could still have one. They have a couple of games left for the end of the season. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think now that they've really kind of solidified that ACC tournament, top 4 seed, that's going to be really good for them, because now you have a good chance, a really good chance. I think you're going to have to play 3 games. You have a really good chance of making it to the championship game. So not only is ACC regular season title in play, I know that one's kind of a stretch, but I'm still going to put it out there. ACC regular season title is out there. Then also you have the ACC tournament now. They're in a great spot to be able to possibly win that game and win that tournament. If they win that tournament, you're talking about a team that's going to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, I believe, with as good as they've been playing so far. I mean, they are really, really doing well. And I mentioned it before. It kind of shows all of the Clemson teams in the spring right now. And that's kind of why I wanted to label this episode about how the winners of spring, because all of the Clemson teams in the spring, really basketball's winner. I know what you're saying is that basketball's more of a winter sport, right? But now we're kind of getting into spring and getting into March. And this team, is another one of those teams that's fighting through, just like the baseball and the softball teams, They were down 22-21 early in the first half. They looked sluggish. They looked out of sync. They looked like shots just they couldn't figure out how to get things going. I mean, I was listening to Tim and Don Munson on the Tim Beret and Don Munson on the radio driving in, and it was not fun. So you know what I did? I actually turned the channel. I listened to some music. I changed it up, and then I took a phone call, and then I came back to the basketball game, and they were up. So maybe it was me that was jinxing them while I was listening to it, but I'm kind of a fan like that. But man, I'm telling you, Schieffelin really did what he needed to do to kind of lock this game down. In that 20-9 run, Schieffelin made 10 of those. So a really, really good job there for Ian and for the rest of the Clemson basketball team. Huge win over Notre Dame, mainly because of the postseason implications that it did. And it kind of gave you the opportunity to kind of rest easy, maybe not so much rest, but at least be excited about what's coming up and not having to guess about it. All right, coming up next, I'm going to talk about the Clemson softball team and their big win, and then we're going to wrap up the show with some talk about the rivalry weekend with the Clemson baseball team. Attention Clemson, Locked On Clemson fans, the future of college sports is here and it's transparent. Before the Roy app, NIL negotiations happened under the table and fans didn't have a clear way to direct sports to the athletes they love. Now with Roy, you get to be a part of the change and support Clemson athletes in the most transparent way possible. Roy, the NIL app, allows you to choose your player that you want to support, decide how much you want to contribute, and receive exclusive content from the athletes you back. The best part, your player transfers, hey, you're going to get your money back. It's a risk-free way to support your show, to show your support. The Roy app gives fans control, no more uncertainty. Now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college sports with your contributions. Download the Roy app from the App Store and start backing Clemson athletes the way they deserve with transparency, trust, and real impact. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your favorite players. All right, next up on the list here is Clemson softball and just how great they did against Georgia, upsetting the Bulldogs. It's really, really good to be able to talk about this because at the beginning of the season, I mean, did you think that Clemson was going to have a top 10, top 11, win in softball? I don't think you probably did. McWhorter Stadium was rocking. The Tigers handed number 11 Georgia their first loss of the season. And in underdog fashion, for sure, they showed determination, just like the basketball team kind of had a little bit of a sluggish start. The softball team didn't have a sluggish start, but they almost let them come back. So, you still had to have some resilience there. It wasn't just a win for me. It was a statement for this young team. This team, as you know, we've talked about on a couple of the shows here. They have a lot of freshmen that are stars in the making, that are still trying to figure out where their role is and what they can do to help support the team. And they have some transfer players that are also trying to, shake off early season rust. We know that they are good players. We just got to see it consistently. And I think we will as the season continues to go on. It wasn't just a win. Again, it was a statement, and that's what I wrote down. Statement, statement, statement. I bolded it on my notes here. After starting the season 3-6, Clemson now has 7 straight wins in softball, and they look like a completely different team. What has changed? What has been the number one difference for them? I will tell you that, I do think that the team is gelling more, and that's kind of what John Rittman had mentioned in the post-game press conference. But let's take a recap of the game. Alex Brown started off really well. She's doing so good from that leadoff position. She's your transfer from North Carolina 2 years ago. She has been getting better and better as the season goes on. And, she's been that one that you can really trust at the beginning of the season. Someone who, was a leadoff last season, but I wouldn't say is as lethal as she is now. She's figured something out. and everything is clicking for her. So when you see number 25, Alex Brown, get up to the plate, you know that, hey, she's going to put this ball in play. She's going to move runners over. And so she is doing great. She's exactly what you brought her in for from the Tar Heels. And then you have Macy Cintron. She knocked in an early lead, or she knocked in early runs for the lead. She's a freshman, dual player. She's a pitcher. She's a big hitter. Someone who's going to be in that cleanup position in the lineup. I mean, this is somebody who, it's just really exciting to watch. Actually, she bats third, and then Julia Noller bats cleanup, and she is just an absolute beast. Another girl who you could see what she was doing last year, and you really miss having her. She had some medical issues last year, and you miss having her, kind of backing up Valerie Cagle, because Clemson really didn't have anybody else to back up Valerie Cagle other than Julia Noller. And then when she was out, and then Valerie was out. So last year was kind of fell flat, because you didn't have your anticipated batting stars out there regularly, and just things didn't really work out for Clemson. They still had a great season overall, but this season could shape up to be even better. I mean, you have Alex Brown, your leadoff. You have your number 3, Macy Cintron. You have your cleanup, and Julia Noller. She shot one. I mean, she hit a bomb. You remember I told you a couple of shows ago where she hit a bomb that was at the top of the scoreboard. Well, she hit another one 256 feet into the parking lot. Now, hopefully, if you're like me, I don't park that close to the Clemson softball outfield. I do not do that. It's not my first rodeo when it comes to going to stadiums like this. And so I keep myself parked pretty far away, even though I got either I have the new Atlas or I have the old Honda, but I keep them both parked away because I do not want to, I don't want to get my car a broken windshield. And this one, 256 feet way out there. Once she hit that, really, it gave Clemson the lead. And then Jamison Brockenborough, I told you that she was the transfer that came in, and she is someone who is from Tennessee. She wanted more playing time, and she's getting it here at Clemson. In the batting lineup, though, it was kind of weird. You wanted her earlier up in the lineup, and you felt like that was where she was going to start out. That's where John Rittman wanted her at the beginning, and she really wasn't very good at the top of the lineup. But now that she's at the bottom of the lineup, I know you're thinking like, man, why is she at the very bottom? But it's one of those things where, like, if you're a professional, you're not discouraged by that because you can still help out your team. Just like on the baseball team with Jaron Purify, you can still get on base and steal bases and knock runners in when they're on base and still contribute to the success of the team. And she's definitely doing that. She came up with a clutch hit in the 4th inning to put the team 3-0. So, you felt like things were rolling there through half the game. Reese Basinger was still doing great at the pitching mound, and that's kind of where really things have turned around for Clemson. And that's where in the 5th inning, so you got later in the game, you're thinking, okay, everything's still going. But that's where Georgia kind of woke up and came back strong. They had 2 doubles and a 2-run home run from Tyler Ellison to tie the game 3-3. So in the moment there, I'm sure fans at the stadium were like, uh-oh, here we go. Is this Clemson Tiger team, this very young team, this new team that hasn't really gelled together, are they going to be able to get it together? Well, I'm telling you what, the Tigers were not done. In the 6th inning, Haley Whitesides. I mean, we're talking about Haley. We really talk about her as a pinch runner, a utility backup. You don't really see much of her at the plate. She delivered a huge double, setting up a go-ahead run, and Clemson regained the lead with Alex Brown coming up to plate, coming through, got an insurance run, and finished up 5-3. And from there, Reese Basinger, and then they switched over to Brooke McCubbin. And Brooke, she's somebody who is a veteran on the team. It's her year. It's her time to shine. But she struggled at the beginning of the season. I don't know if she's going to be your ace or your true number 1 starter, but she's definitely someone who can come out from the bullpen and shut you down. And she definitely did that. 2 scoreless innings after she came in from relieving Reese. And that was all you had to say. So a few things that I thought about from this game. 1, resilience under pressure. Georgia was undefeated. They were ranked top in one of the best teams in the country. Clemson was like, hey, this is our house and we're going to protect it. We're going to get out with an early lead. You're not going to be able to come back. We're going to shut you down at the end of the game as well. They did so with resilience and great pitching, but also stars at the batting lineup. Julia Noller is the girl that you wanted from last season, and she was a freshman and she had some things going on, but now she's a sophomore and she has picked up right where we thought she'd leave off. She's hitting great, and it's amazing to see. It's pretty exciting to see her. So when you come up to bat, get your phone out. When she comes up to bat, get your phone out, because she is going to absolutely destroy a ball if she gets a hold of one, for sure. If you leave one over the plate, look out. Macy Cintron is another one, a new player on the team. Brockenborough new, and Alex Brown's doing great. And then you can't ignore Maddie Moore. I mean, she's also been great. One of the best second basemen in the country. So batting has always been there. We know that. They really have started the season off as a huge powerhouse from the offensive side of the ball, of the game. But then pitching has started to come together. Basinger pitched 5 innings, 8 strikeouts. Wasn't until the 3rd inning that she allowed a couple of runs, really only on 5 hits and 1 walk. So not too bad of an outing. Just need to clean it up there in that 1 inning. And then Brooke McCubbin, 2 innings pitched, no earned runs, 2 strikeouts, kept Georgia's offense off the board when it was necessary. I have her name listed here. I don't want to miss her, but Alex Brown, 2 for 4, an RBI, clutch hit in the end of the game. When she's doing well, Clemson, it's just much easier for Clemson all around. So 7 straight wins. They did so with the bats, but also big time with the pitching staff. And John Rittman said, hey, he said, quote, "We knew we had talent. We just need to come together as a team." And Clemson definitely is showing that they're coming together as a team. Is this a turning point for the Tigers? I think it could be. Why not? I mean, a win against a huge ranked opponent that was undefeated at home, and coming from allowing them to tie the game, I think the whole thing just sets up for this team to just gain a spark and just keep running with it, especially with your pitching staff. Now you have 2 that are starting to get a little bit more confident. Does this team have postseason potential? Well, if you ask fans, 2 weeks ago, you'd probably say, no, heck no, this team doesn't have postseason potential. This is going to be a down year. And now if you ask fans this weekend, you're probably thinking, wow, this team looks pretty good. They got Lafayette this Friday, and then they're going to kick off the Tiger Invitational, another tournament. You know how baseball, softball, they love their early season tournaments. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season and kind of how the Tigers can continue this role and see if they can pick it and keep running with this big win. So congratulations to the Clemson softball team. Congratulations also to the Clemson basketball team, as we mentioned in the previous segment. Let me know what you think over on YouTube. You can put in the comments, and I'd love to talk to you. If you put a comment in, I'm going to reply back to you for sure, whether you're a Clemson fan or not. And then also you can follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show, where again, I talk all things Clemson and just have a good time over there. All right, we're going to go to our final break, and we're going to talk about Clemson baseball next and their big rivalry weekend. We're just going to touch on it. I'll get into some of it, some more details of it on Friday's show, but we're just going to touch on it today. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. And that's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance, and that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. I had to tell you, this gives me some peace of mind, because as a parent, I want to make sure my family is financially protected no matter what happens. I'm kind of going through a transition in my careers, and I want to make sure that my family is set up no matter what happens to me. So Fabric gives me that peace of mind. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today, just minutes, and meet at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. All right, we're going to finish up the show talking about Clemson baseball, and I'm trying to multitask here as we continue to keep going through. It's been a great, great week for me here on the Locked On Clemson podcast. I know a lot of people out there have been mentioning about how they have enjoyed, what we've been doing here, what I've been able to get doing here on the Clemson, on Locked On Clemson and with Locked On. I'm telling you, the reason why I came with Locked On is because they gave me some support as I was doing the show. Now, I can do a show by myself. I can do that. That I can have my own YouTube channel. I can have my own podcast. I can even be on the radio for sure. But what's great about working with Locked On is that they help me. I have a big team behind the scenes that's giving me, different tools and resources with the graphics and with the editing software and with just tips on how to have a better podcast. So I don't feel like I'm all by myself here on Locked On. So I wanted to say, as we get closer to the end of the first month here for me with Locked On, hopefully you've enjoyed it. I know I have a lot of people in the comments giving me a shout out and saying that they appreciate what I'm doing. And talking about Clemson is pretty easy. Every single day can get kind of hard, but especially since we're in the off season. But I'm looking forward to building this up with you. Hopefully, you can stick with me as I keep building this channel up, and then going into the fall where we get into football season. That's going to be really, really fun for sure. So appreciate everyone's love and support over there. This weekend, Clemson has the South Carolina rivalry, and I know the first thing someone texted me and said, Morgan, they used up all their runs on Tuesday. And I said, please don't go down this path of saying that they used up all their runs on Tuesday. I do not want to have to deal with this kind of stress in my life. I don't think that that's really how things go when it comes to college athletics. I don't think that teams just use up all their runs on a Tuesday and can't make any runs on the weekend. Now, if that's the case and I'm completely wrong, then shame on me. But I really don't think that Clemson did anything wrong by just absolutely destroying Winthrop. If anything, with their freshman pitcher out there and with those guys, that 4 guys hit 4 different home runs. 4 home runs were hit by 4 different guys. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I would say that, it was exciting to watch. It was a great game. I didn't watch the whole game because they really blow it apart after about the middle of the game. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go do something else. But, I think it was a good game to continue keeping their confidence. You want teams to just feel like they're unbeatable. And those are the kind of games that make you feel like you're unbeatable. I mean, come on. So those are not bad games. I think that they're going to still have they're going to still have all the offense they need to beat South Carolina this weekend. Can they sweep South Carolina? Rivalry games are tough. Okay. So we don't really know if they'll be able to sweep South Carolina or not, but I hope that they can win 2 out of 3, because you want to be able to say and have those bragging rights that you are the state champion of the 2025 baseball season and you're the best baseball team in the state. And so that's what you want to be able to say. Eric Bakich has done, okay against South Carolina. He's 3-2. When you look up at this weekend, they're going to start in Doug Kingsmore Stadium, I think at 7 p.m. And then they're going to go to Fluor Field in Greenville at 1:30. And then they're going to head over to Founders Park, I believe, in Columbia. I think it's like a 5 o'clock game. So afternoon games all around this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're going to travel the state. That's the way they normally do it. And I'm excited for it. They have the pitching staff that's really kind of coming together. The batting, as Eric Beckett mentioned, it's really cool to see what they did Tuesday, because you had kind of got to a point where you're like, okay, this team's just never going to hit home runs. And this team has, especially the transfers that came in, all of them can hit home runs. They just got to figure out how to do that consistently. And, I said if they were just 20 to 30% better, you're talking about 5 guys that could probably hit 20 home runs. So this team definitely has guys that have some pop. But I don't really beat them up for not having the pop right now, or not at least having those home runs on the box score, because they're still winning the game. So I'm not going to get too picky about it, right? Keep winning the games, 7-1 overall, heading into this huge rivalry weekend against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Hopefully they can sweep, or at least take 2 out of 3. So I'm excited for it. Hey, I appreciate everyone being a part of the show. I know I'm not on my normal location, so you don't see the normal background. You have to get used to this hotel for tonight, to this morning's show, and then tomorrow's. I'm going to head over to the airport and do a bunch of flying in the Piper Seminole. I'm going to get my first. This is my first weekend with a twin-engine airplane, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I appreciate everyone supporting me here while I continue to do the podcast while I'm traveling. So Morgan on the road here. So hopefully that's okay with you. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball. Isaac Schott and Andy Patton, they're going to give you all the information. You don't have to wait for March, which it's almost March, but you don't have to wait for March to be the most informed college basketball fan. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And I appreciate you again. Thank you so much. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.